hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. So for the pledge, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If before you sit, please stand for a moment of silence in memory of Mary Jo Zettner. Ms. Zettner was employed by the district as a teacher and a principal at both Clewiston High School and LaBelle High School between 1961 and 1984. Thank you.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Yes, sir. We are very honored tonight to recognize two employees. This is the night of the Robins. And so what I'll do, I'll ask Ms. Nelson to come forward, please, and Robin Colding, if you will come forward.
No tears.
She knows. Presented to Robin Colding, teacher, Country Oaks Elementary School, in appreciation for 32 years of faithful service to Hendry County School District, school system, school board member, superintendent, staff. Today, August 20th, 2019.
Ms. Jones, do you have some words to say? Robin has worked at like all of our, come on in.
Come on, you want to be in the picture too. Your best friend.
Robin, you've been at all three of our elementary schools.
I have.
Okay, but your last principal is here.
Yes.
And you have people who've worked with you at other schools who are here. But if Ms. Jones has a few words to say.
Well, I would just like to say when I started teaching, Robin was a great mentor to me. Before I even started teaching, she was already teaching. She taught both my children, and so we have a long history. She's a wonderful person, and I'm just happy for this next journey in her life. She will be greatly missed.
Yes. What are you planning to do next?
Well, in my time of the waiting period, I like to volunteer, but I'm learning, I was saying something about volunteering to someone recently, and she just immediately nabbed me and said, good, you can be on the Stomp Cabin Festival Committee. So I've got my calendar out, but I'm ready for a vacation.
I'm sure you've earned it.
I want to see the leaves change.
Yes.
You're going to entertain her?
Teachers don't get to see the leaves change.
No.
No.
This is my great nephew,
Whose name is?
Axel.
Axel. This is Axel. Axel's my new best friend. All right, Axel, I'm gonna let you go back with Aunt Robin now, okay? Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
32 years. Oh.
Thank you for your hard work. Let me give her a little bit. You're gonna say it right. Thank you for your service. Robin said there.
Dr. Bird. And Robin Blake. You get in the middle.
Robin Blake. Presented to Robin Blake, teacher, LaBelle High School, in appreciation for 29 years of faithful service to Hendry County District School System, school board members, superintendent, and staff. Congratulations, I can't believe you lasted that long.
Mr. Kelly, did you have a few words?
She's gonna be missed K through 12 because she also serves a lot, does a lot of elementary schools as well. We had to bring somebody early to learn her routine. That's how important she is to our school. I have to personally thank Ms. Hart printed about $2 billion worth of raffle tickets and dinner tickets and anything like that over the years for all the coaches. So she's not just helped everybody, she's helped just about everybody in town, on the side anyway. And we're gonna miss her a whole lot.
Yes, we will, very much. And we share a lot of things together. We taught together. I happen to know exactly how old you are because we share the same birthday.
Same age, too.
Yeah. So, I can't believe, I mean, you've taught at Country Oaks and you came to LaBelle High School.
And LaBelle Elementary.
Oh, and you were at LaBelle Elementary. She's one of the North Dakota people. If you ever know history, there are a group of people who came here from North Dakota, along with, she brought her husband also, who came here with the Bells,
Millers.
and the Millers, and the Blakes, and they were all brought here by Mr. Dunbar, who was a student at Minot State in North Dakota. So they all came here. And so you're the last, Dave will be the last one. Okay. All right, and what's next? What are you doing?
Grandchildren.
Okay.
All my grandchildren. We bragged about North Dakota just a little too much. All my grandchildren are in North Dakota. In Minnesota. One was in Boca Raton until last summer. His wife got a job, so.
Oh, good. Our birthdays are coming up. Our birthday is September 20th. So we have the benefit of knowing exactly what our parents were doing on New Year's Eve. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I remember her as the elementary. Thank you.
Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Ask for citizen comments, and then I'll close for this round.
We have, next item is the citizen comments on the agenda item. If anyone have any comments they'd like to make on the agenda item at this particular time. If not, we'll get our next item, sir.
And the honorees are free at this time, unless you want to stay for the whole show. You're free at this time to go ahead and make your exit. Thank you all for coming.
Nice to meet you.
He wants to shake your hand. We've got a second politician. You ready? Oh, she wants to shake your hand too.
Say thank you. Thank you for coming. Bye. I'll take you too.
Ready? Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Chair, if you'll give me an indulgence of amending the agenda. We have talked for the past 2 or maybe 3 meetings about the teacher arming issue. And I asked the sheriff, last meeting you wanted to hear from the sheriff. So the sheriff and I have been in discussions. The sheriff is here for a brief presentation to tell you what his thoughts are of the next step if the board decides to take it. So at this time, I'll ask Sheriff Steve Whitten to come up.
Hello. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. As you know, this issue has come up. The governor recently signed a bill which would allow teachers to carry inside the classroom. when we were trying to put together the Guardian program, one of the sticking points with a lot of people was they were confusing the guardians with teachers, and they didn't like the idea of a teacher in a classroom carrying on their person because A, they're around children all day, and B, they don't want them to act in the role of a guardian, which would be to go out and seek the threat and stop it immediately. I can't say that I disagree with that. I don't like the fact of a teacher leaving the classroom. I don't like the fact of a teacher carrying a firearm on them with little kids and teenagers around them all day. You know, they get forgetful and things happen. However, I am in favor of a classroom teacher being able to protect their lives and the lives of those children if, you know, in a last case scenario. Just like Coach Aaron Feist, which is what this program was named after. When the shooter confronted him and his kids, all he could do was wrap his arms around them and turn around and said goodbye. That was it. Can you imagine if that was to happen here and that teacher had no way of protecting those children? What my thoughts are, and again, this, as you know, the requirements are the same for the teachers to go through, the training requirements, everything's identical. The board has to agree along with the sheriff. If the board so chooses to do this, one thing I would suggest that would allow a teacher the opportunity to protect them and their children also, but not to keep it on them, but we could actually install biometric safes. As you know, we have safes in all the schools now for our SROs, which they carry their long guns in. Same principle. It's a thumbprint. It opens up for them. Only that SRO can get into that locker. No, there's no other way to get into it. If we did that, a teacher could have it somewhere bolted securely to the floor, to a concrete wall, have the firearm inside of it, where only that teacher could get into it in a last case scenario. If someone's trying to come through the door to do them harm, they have a way to protect them and their children. So again, I'm not really in favor of a classroom teacher carrying on them, just for the fact of I don't want them in an active assailant situation thinking, hey, I got to run out and go find this bad person and kill him and leaving those kids. Can you imagine? That would be absolutely awful. So, but again, you don't know what scenario is next. You don't know what's coming down the pike. If someone is trying to get into that specific classroom, trying to shoot the hinges off the door, kick the windows in, whatever, they have an opportunity to protect themselves. So that's my thought process on it. Again, the board has to agree to it, so I'm good with whatever you guys decide. All right?
All right.
Would you explain, like, if they decide to do that, what kind of a safe thing?
Yes, ma'am. They're safes. They come in various sizes, but all you need is one to carry a sidearm, just big enough. They're really inexpensive when it comes down to it. But it's called a biometric safe. It simply requires you to run up there. As soon as you put your thumbprint on it, it identifies your fingerprint only, and it opens up and allows you to retrieve that firearm.
So no one else can get into it,
No one else can get
period?
into it, no, ma'am. So.
Mr. Chairman? Yes, sir. Turn back right there. Very loud, sir. Yeah.
For the, let me go over the board because you're the second board member. These are now very sensitive, and if we have a large crowd, that's what you need to, that's how you need to talk into it so people can hear you. The feed is going through up there. So if you don't want to be like broadcasting to everybody, just don't get close to the mic.
Thank you.
Okay.
I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
In the event that we do have a teacher that we put a safe in that classroom, and something happened to that teacher, they were on vacation and they left, how would you get into that safe to retrieve that weapon?
They have codes that you can put in, like a generic code that only certain people have.
Okay.
That could get into it manually. It's biometric as well as a combination.
So the sheriff's department would actually
Yes.
have that code, nobody else in the school district?
Exactly, yes, sir. Just in case something, like you said, something happened, we can retrieve it.
Would
It's the same as ours in our school.
Would the sheriff's department provide those safes, or would the
Um,
school?
I'm not sure. I know we get some money for the program. I don't know how much of it would cost, but, you know, these safes range from $30 to $100, depending, you know, on the make and model.
I didn't know, I mean, the reason I'm asking that is if that is, would that be property of the sheriff's department, or would that be property of the Hendry County school
You know,
system?
the safe, it really doesn't matter to me. I mean, we can work out the details later. I don't care who physically owns it. It doesn't really matter. I don't-
And then I guess my final question on that would be, if, say we're in this room, this was a classroom, you see the shooter right there, what would your instruction be? Even if they weren't trying to get in that door, what would your instruction be?
The same as it is now for the teachers, as far as grabbing kids, get somewhere and hide in the corner, except as they're doing that, that teacher runs and retrieves that firearm. And he hunkers down with the children.
So they would go at that point and grab the weapon?
Absolutely, absolutely. You got an active assailant, you don't know what he's going to do.
Okay,
You just don't know. So retrieve the firearm, get your kids to the safest part of the room they can, hunker down, and just prepare.
if they had the opportunity to take them out, you would not want them to do that unless they were trying to enter the classroom?
Here's the thing. Every case scenario is different. That is something we can't even train for. You know, if the guy sticks his head in the window, you know, or something, who knows what they're going to do. However, you know, that's something we're going to have to just, you know, I mean, if you get an opportunity, if he's right there, shoot at him, because if he sees you, he's likely going to start shooting at you. So, and we're going to have to train, you know, the teacher aspect of it, we're going to train a little bit differently as far as philosophy. The Guardian's philosophy is as soon as they hear gunfire, screams, something bad's happening, they're retrieving their firearm and they're going on a hunt and kill mission.
Right.
They're trying to stop that active assailant as soon as they can to save as many lives as they can. The teachers are going to be a little different. They're responsible for this atmosphere right here.
Right.
Those kids that's in their care, they're responsible for protecting them and their own lives. So I don't want them leaving, wait here, I'll be back. I don't want them doing that, because now they're defenseless.
Right.
Teacher goes that way, the assailant comes this way, classroom, you know, unarmed kids.
Yes.
So my thing would be to gather the firearm, hunker down with your kids, and get ready.
Okay. I just didn't know what your,
Yeah.
you know, in that scenario, what you were
Right.
teaching or would be teaching.
Yes, sir.
If you took if you had a shot,
Yeah.
take it. I think that would
If,
be a great idea.
if he's right there, I mean, if he sees you, he's probably gonna start shooting, so I would say, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, in that case.
Sheriff, approximately how many teachers would you anticipate being on each campus?
I have no idea.
Okay.
You all would have a better guess than I would.
Okay.
Keep in mind, the requirements are the same as the Guardians, as far as the hours, the training, the coursework. And, you know, we graduated our second class here recently, and it's working out great. I mean, with no issues. The training, everyone you talk to will tell you, wow. So,
Is there could you possibly have too many people on campus carrying?
well, I mean, here's the thing. Active assailant comes in, which class is he gonna pick?
I agree. I just,
So-
I think that was mentioned in our last discussion, that you don't want too many people walking
Well,
around.
you don't want too many people walking around with firearms on. It can get confusing in a situation, who's got the gun. Now, we do train for that. However, what we're looking at here is a little bit different. Again, the teachers are not going to be walking around. They're not even going to have the gun on them. It's going to be in a safe, in a corner, bolted down somewhere. If an active assailant does come in, they retrieve their firearm, they get their kids to a corner, and they're ready.
Right.
Now, they're hearing noises, sirens coming, gunshots, screams. It's going to be a bad situation, but they're there with those kids. Now, if somebody starts kicking in that door or trying to shoot through that door, they at least have a method to return fire
Right.
and protect those kids. Because I'm telling you, when these bad guys start catching fire, they go somewhere else.
Right.
You know, so it's, again, like I said with Guardian, this is a bad situation, but we have to do something.
But they would not be, per se, held to the same standard as the Guardian, because they're not actually on a seek and.
They're going to be held to the
Mission.
same requirements as far as training. Okay, they have to go through our course. If they don't make it through our course, they don't graduate. But again, the philosophy of their job is going to be different. Again, a Guardian is to hunt and seek.
Right.
The teachers is going to be hunkered down and protect those kids.
Okay.
That's it.
That's what I want to make sure, that we weren't going to have any teachers that were going to be in any kind of trouble
No.
if they heard the gunshot and it sounded like they were 3 doors down and they didn't go out to see.
No, no, no,
It
no.
was-
No, that's not going to be the case at all. No.
However, we don't know the liability piece of a teacher who may be in some other sort of situation. And suppose that they do not fire a weapon when they could, maybe they can't get to the box. But that, we could debate 100 different things.
Right.
Now, the purpose tonight really was for you to hear the sheriff's proposal and ideas on how we go about arming teachers.
Right.
You had also asked me to consider scheduling some forums. So now that you kind of have an idea of what's being proposed by the Hendry County Sheriff's Department, do you want me to go ahead and schedule forums and give me a night that is the best, that works for you folks?
Okay.
I personally think forums are gonna be necessary on this, this being a topic of high public interest. This is not something that I want to proceed without hearing, candid conversation from the community.
Okay,
I agree.
yeah.
I agree.
Anyone
Are Thursday nights good? It seems like that's what we did last time around.
Make it work.
They're good for me.
Are you thinking soon, like, just that we have the
Well,
spaghetti dinners?
there is no deadline for this decision,
Right.
but I'm saying maybe in September, we'll go ahead and start this.
Okay, just remember, we have the UES spaghetti dinner on the 5th and the COE spaghetti dinner on the 12th. So we could do the 19th and the 26th of September, if that, if you want a Thursday.
Okay, why don't I email everybody and we'll work out the dates that way.
I can tell you this though, and again, you know, we heard the comments at the last town hall meetings on the Guardian, and the biggest thing was liability. I think you'll have less liability, less danger to the kids and everybody else in there because of the simple fact that they're not gonna have their firearms on them. They'll have it in a safe.
Right.
And again, this is just for a last chance scenario, so.
And it is voluntary.
It's voluntary, totally voluntary, yep. Yeah, nobody's forcing anyone to do anything. If you wanna do it, you know, you have to get through the backgrounds and the tests and all and pass the course. If you don't wanna do it, no biggie.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
Sheriff, do you know any other school districts that have implemented the teacher portion of the Guardian program?
No, not right now, not offhand, I do not. I know there's quite a bit that's got the Guardians, but I don't know that they're implemented it yet. It's still a pretty, really new bill, so.
Is anybody discussing it at all? Did you hear of anybody discussing
Haven't heard any really a whole lot of talk about it.
Okeechobee had they were bouncing the idea around and they took public comment on it.
Yeah,
But I don't know if it's actually come down to a vote.
yeah. Okay.
Trailblazers, man,
Good thing,
trailblazers.
Well,
I don't know.
you know, I don't know we're trailblazers. I just try to take a common sense approach and I try to, you know, think inside of the head, you know, of what is going on in a school when a shooter comes in. And, you know, like I said, you're never gonna be able to do anything to stop someone from coming in, but you can sure mitigate the damage. So I'm looking at, again, if he's trying to kick in the door, shoot the hinges off the door to this classroom, what would we do?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, right now, if I wasn't armed and nobody in here was armed, if somebody came in and started kicking it with a rifle or a pistol,
Right.
what would we do?
We have an SRO at every meeting.
Hide behind Paul.
She called in sick if they weren't there, nobody was armed, what would we do?
Yeah.
You know?
We're not allowed to carry even if we are concealed in here, are we? As citizens?
That would be up to y'all.
No.
No,
Not on school.
because this is school
Well,
grounds.
yeah, okay, yeah. the
So we're
campus
not
thing, yeah.
allowed
Now, does that
to.
mean you're actually obeying that? I don't know. But you're not supposed to.
Well, I didn't mean to start that argument, I'm just trying to make a point. You know, I mean, you know, I'm just looking at every scenario. What if he comes in before he starts shooting, the first thing he's gonna do is go kick in a classroom door?
Right.
Nobody knows he's there except for that teacher, and he's trying to get in with a gun.
Right.
You know, what happens, so. But again, I'm just throwing the scenarios and my thought process on it. It's gonna ultimately be up to y'all, and we'll go through the town halls and see what the people say and
Okay.
whatnot, so, all right.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right, thank you all for hearing me, I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next item, sir. Personnel allocation.
Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of the new personnel allocation requests. Those are from the ESC department. They have been worked into the proposed budget.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, sir.
Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of the consent agenda. And we're here to answer any questions that you may have. Dr. Monday is unable to attend tonight. Or is Mr. Seeley.
We have a recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Now, discussion. No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, sir.
Mr. Chair, under board member business, I recommend approval of the 2019-20 Small School District Council Consortium membership dues and resolutions for participation.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, sir.
And we have
Draft.
Yeah.
Ms. Riccardi here, and I recommend approval of the draft of the RFP for legal services. If you have any questions, she is here to answer, or any changes that you might want to make.
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion. Do you have anything you want to share with us, or you just?
No?
Nope.
No, you have it in your packet, don't you?
Yes.
Okay.
My thing died here. Okay, no discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, we're just trucking right along here. All right, there's no other item.
Yeah, I do have one thing, and I misspoke at our last board meeting when I referred to policy. And you have to understand, we have been way behind on getting policies to you. So that when I spoke to a policy, it was a proposed policy. It had not been passed by the board. It's policy 9211, which deals with booster organizations and support organizations. In that proposal, there is a line that says no employee of the Hendry County School Board can be paid by a booster organization, okay? There is no legal requirement for that. I checked after we did all this, I called Neola, we have checked through the Florida High School Athletic Association, we have looked at ethics. There is no ethical concern or rule concern with FHSAA for that to take place. The reason, because we didn't propose it, I didn't propose it, so I asked, well, why is it there? The reason that it's there is because we can fall into a conflict of interest according to Neola, not according to Paul Paletti or anybody else like that. Suppose you have one coach who is getting supplemented by the booster club and another who isn't. How do you justify or rectify that? Well, we can't, because it's not us, it's not our organization, it's not our money.
Right.
There may be situations, even if you had this and said, this is what we're gonna do, that it can happen anyway. A person who wants to reward or do whatever they can for that person can do it outside of any of our awareness or any of our accounts. But if you decide that this should be approved, what it would prevent is that organization or that person who may want to get the benefit of the tax write-off from being now unable to get that tax write-off by running it through by not being able to run it through the Booster Club. This whole situation can be controversial, okay? It already is controversial. And what we have done in the past is we have moved, we being me, okay, have moved everybody up as far as we can under our salary schedules and under our collective bargain agreements. Then a group might come in and say, we will enhance that to attract this particular person here. And so that's what happens, and that's what has happened. It doesn't happen frequently, but it happens, okay? I misspoke. It was in the proposal. You can withdraw that if you decide to do that. You don't even really need to. I would recommend that you read it carefully, because you may not want to even do this proposal from Neola. But remember, Neola is the people. Neola is the group that we count on to keep us legal with our policies. In this particular case, there is no legal reason to do it other than to avoid any potential conflict. And some of the things that you might want to be considering when you go through this, and I'm talking about past history, you want to try to avoid competing booster organizations. Somebody doesn't particularly like the way one group has done it, so they're going to start their own to support athletics at LaBelle High School. That was an effort that happened about 10 years ago. There have also been attempts to form academic booster clubs, similar to recognize academics, similar to the way we support athletics. That happened about 20-something years ago. So those types of things happen. But remember, the purpose of the Booster Club is to enhance what we're doing, and we should really not have any control in that other than supporting through ticket sales and things of that nature what the boosters doing. So just, you know, I get accused sometimes of not being transparent. I want to be extremely transparent on this, that this is a case where there are people who want to enhance certain coaches. It can cause rancor among the coaches of one school, or in our case, between schools. Because what if the head basketball coach at LaBelle can't get the same kind of enhancement the head basketball coach in Clewiston is getting, even though they're equal in terms of pay and in terms of supplemented positions? And then we're not really in that fight from that point on. It conceivably could have an impact on attracting people to coaching positions in this district. I'm not saying it would, but it could. And that's why you have that somewhat cryptic sheet of paper that I threw out to you today.
Okay.
You will make your decision. That's coming up in September. This is the next meeting. And while I'm at that, remember the next meeting is on Thursday, not Tuesday. We have to do that in order to pass the budget. So our meeting, don't come here on Tuesday the 3rd, come in here on Thursday the 5th. Actually, it'll be in Clewiston. In Clewiston, Thursday the 5th. That's all I have.
Right. Ms. Basque, you have anything?
No, I'm good, thank you, sir.
Okay. Ms. Amanda?
I'm good, thank you.
Ms. Busey?
I do. And I'm asking this question in front of my colleagues so we can all learn together on this. And I was wondering, what document are we using as our district strategic plan?
We currently do not. We have one that was a turnaround document. So we have made attempts at getting a group in to help us develop a strategic plan. willing to call them, because it is very important, particularly for those people who are interested in foundation work. A lot of what we have to do falls back to how does this fit into your strategic plan? If not, then they have to go to the particular school improvement plan.
And I was also thinking about it, I've been thinking about the last few meetings and, some of the questions that Mr. Basquin has asked, and, I'm trying, and I get where, like, his questions are coming from, and I think, with the strategic plan is where we as a board get together and essentially prioritize what we're spending on. And so, we can go through and have a better control of our spending and be more aware of our spending, because I know that you subscribe to that same thought pattern that, we can't control what we're getting in, but we can control what we're spending. And so, having a strategic plan would help us guide where we want that money spent. And I looked at one of our emails that we got recently from the Florida School Board Association, and it was talking about an upcoming forum for like finance too. And did you
I
do the
did.
finance one before? So
It's been a while.
it has been a while, and I think even the finance forum, the forums I think are so much better than going to the conferences, because the conferences, information overload, you're getting an hour here, an hour there, but like the forum really drilled down on school finance. And I noticed when I went there the first time, like I could definitely take a refresher course on it because it's so extensive. But a lot of districts there had their CFOs with them. Their board members had that CFO. And so I was, I know we don't like to, try to make decisions on a dime, to think about going forward, if maybe, because I know time is very challenging. And to maybe, if we wanted to go as a group, maybe forego a conference and go to one of these forums. Because I think the information that we're gonna get there is gonna serve us in our roles the best. So just something to think about.
This is the one for October 10th and 11th.
This isn't, I think this is 2, but they should have like the first one, like finance 1. This is finance 2.0.
Okay, I may have deleted that other one.
But we'll find it, and if you would like, forward it, so you can look at what they are, what we would be doing. But they're really good. Every forum that I've been to, I've liked it so much better than just going to that conference. And then I wanted to report that we are going to be putting out we put out $40,000 last year through the Hendry Public School Foundation and our matching grants, and we are on track to do 56 this year. And we just recently put out a donation to the to the LaBelle area schools from a local merchant. And in the Cloiston schools, we worked with the Education Foundation of Palm Beach County and got 600 backpacks full of supplies for our Cloiston schools. So we've been moving and shaking.
Yes, you have. And I would support the efforts for you to go to this forum. And I would also allow our new CFO to attend.
She was over there like, I can't believe I just got invited to this.
And the reason being is because we also want to do something that I believe is closer to what you have been sort of asking. And that would be some sort of amended zero-based budgeting. And that's where you go through and here's what it costs, here's what you have, instead of rolling over, okay? And I think that's gonna be important to do, and I think if you all go off, because that is your bailiwick, the budget is your bailiwick, and you're gonna have some important decisions to make here pretty soon anyway, and if you could all get together, when is this forum?
I'm trying to find it. I found the,
October?
They have a Finance 1.0, what they just sent us was Finance 2.0. So if you've already taken the first finance, gone to the first finance
Okay.
forum, go to the second one, but I know that, people like that, we need to be on the lookout for the next Finance 1.0 forums.
So you would like, some of you would go through that again?
I mean, there was so much information that they gave you that you could do it twice.
Okay, so let's aim for all of us, all of you able to be able to go.
We'll find out when it is. Get on it.
On it.
Mr. Flynn, Yes.
Mr. Flynn, might want to remind them that all this travel will have to be approved prior to the new.
That's right, don't forget that new law. We have to have a prior approval before you go off, so once you get that date, we have to get all that done.
All right, I'll get all that information put together.
Okay.
And then I was watching the county commission meeting and saw Commissioner Swindle when looking at the commissioner comments, and you mentioned something about a USDA grant. Can you give me some little clarification on that?
You sent an email out.
It's the email that I sent you folks, and I thought you might ask about this earlier, but yes, go ahead and explain what it is. But you have the email that I sent out a couple of weeks ago about an award that he received.
So,
Go ahead.
sure, okay, so it's the, if you'll remember 12 months ago, we received $196,000 to redesign the safety and ventilation system for our weld shop and expand the capacity. We're about 95% complete, and within the month we should be complete. We're up and running, but we're just still kind of putting the final touches on that system. Through that process, the field rep mentioned to me that, hey, we're opening this back up. We're very pleased with how things have ran here. We would like to continue helping if you have other needs. The facility that was built at Clewiston High School for the CTE expansion is the absolute wonderful fit, and we did a second USDA Jobs Growth Grant to equip it for HVAC and electrician certifications. So we were awarded $436,000 to purchase the equipment and the materials, supplies to get that up and running. Ms. Riccardi has already, based on the grant approval, she's already got the account set up. I just learned tonight, and we're ready to start cutting POs, crossing our fingers that we can have equipment on hand in January and up and running. We're going to run it for the high school students as well as evening students for adults. So we're very pleased.
Who's gonna be teaching it?
We stole the maintenance man, Cecil Harris, and so he's doing a phenomenal job. He's actually in his second year there, and he's really doing a great job. He's doing some of it now, but we're kind of just still in air conditioning units, all people's offices, and letting him work on those.
The rec board could use some.
All right, yeah. So just want to make sure to report. If you have any questions, if any of you, I would love for y'all to tour the welding facility. So when that is 100%, I would love to send out a date and love if anybody wants to stop by and see that operational. We are going to have one of the state-of-the-art programs in the state, and right here in Clewiston, that one in LaBelle, and then and I can share later with some other things we're working on as well for some further growth.
Awesome, awesome. I like it.
Good news.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Stop. Anything else?
No, but Mr. Bosley, is there something you wanted, or are you just here to observe?
I'm just here to observe.
Okay.
Okay. If there's nothing else, then it's time for you see.
There it is.
Let it go.